with any exercise. Any barbell or dumbbell exercise you can imagine, you can replicate with air. Hey guys, my name is Jason and today I'm going to give a review of BaseBlocks Air. I've been developing this product alongside UFC GOAT George St. Pierre for the past 18 months. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you why we built it, how it works, and the pros and cons. Resistance training is very effective at getting strong and building muscle. The most common modalities for strength training would be free weights and machines. While super effective, they require space and a large amount of weight. So if I want to squat 220 pounds, I need that amount of weight. So that was the main problem we were trying to solve. We wanted to create a product that would be able to generate a high level of resistance, but in itself not weigh the amount that you're lifting. Resistance bands, pound for pound, are great. They provide you with a large amount of resistance compared to how much they weigh. However, the amount of resistance will depend on how much they've been stretched. So our Eureka moment was on an air bike. And if you've used one before, it feels like you're pedaling through mud. And while the peak resistance that it provides may not be enough to cross a threshold for strength development, there was definitely something there because it just felt so hard. So we decided air resistance was the way to go and our experimentation begun. The peak resistance that a fan provides depends on its physical properties along with the movement speed. We played around with the fan diameter, the blade weight, the blade size, and every shape that you could imagine. After countless prototypes, we ended on a 27-inch diameter fan that was able to provide up to 250 pounds of resistance. There are three main fitness parameters to develop using air. So I'll put them in two buckets. There's strength and power, and there's endurance. Muscle has a bunch of motor units. Some of the motor units are only activated when you have to generate high levels of force. And those are the ones we want to activate to build strength and power. Air is based on voluntary effort. And it just means you have to go really hard for the resistance to be really high. If you don't go hard, the resistance won't be high. This can be a pro and a con. So the pro is you can unlock a high level of resistance purely with effort rather than changing weights. The con is it requires you to try really hard. We've included a monitor which will detect the blade movement and it will provide you with an RPM which is relative to the intensity. So if I'm trying really hard, the RPM will be higher. So one thing with air is there's no eccentric loading, and what might look like a bug can actually be quite a good feature. There are many activities that don't have a significant eccentric portion. For example, rock climbing, boxing, and even Olympic weightlifting is primarily concentric. And there are even effective training modalities that you've probably seen before that also don't have a significant eccentric portion, like medicine ball throws or even sled dragging. The eccentric component of a lift is the primary contributor to delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS. Removing the eccentric component of a lift can allow you to recover faster. Some beneficial use cases would be if you have a high frequency training week, then you would want to minimize the soreness post-workout so it didn't conflict with the next day's workout. Or even if you're an athlete and you have skill-based sessions and you don't want to enter the skill-based sessions fatigued. When we're talking about the endurance training bucket, I actually think the lack of eccentric loading is quite complementary. If we look at some of the most popular cardio machines, we've got the ski erg, air bike, rowing machine. They don't have a eccentric loading portion. The pedaling, you're pushing the whole time. The rowing, the pulling is where you have resistance, and the ski erg, the downward stroke, is where you have resistance. One limitation of those tools are you're restricted to one movement pattern. While they're great at developing your respiratory system, the other benefit of cardio training is you get local muscular endurance. So for those three exercises, you're building local muscular endurance in your rowing muscles or your skiing muscles or your pedaling muscles. So one benefit when using BaseBlocks Air is I can develop muscular endurance with any exercise. Any barbell or dumbbell exercise you can imagine, you can replicate with air. And if you were to do it for high reps or for time, you could build endurance with those muscle groups and turn it into a cardio workout. With air, I can see my RPM. So if I'm doing deadlifts or squats or curls or overhead press, I can try and sustain a given power output, similar to a rowing machine or a ski erg or a bike erg, which makes it a great tool to build conditioning because I have to maintain a given power output for a fixed period of time. How would you use BaseBlocks Air in a workout? One is you could add it to your current routine. For example, if you're starting an exercise and you want to build strength for your deadlift, you could use it with air instead of weights. Or at the end of a workout, if you're trying to develop your anaerobic conditioning with a circuit, you could use the air to perform that circuit. Another thing is you could train exclusively with air. There's a high amount of exercise variety. So there are attachments for either a bar or handles, and you can replicate any exercise you can do with free weights. So overhead press, bench press, split squats, deadlifts, lunges, rows. If you wanted to, you could perform your entire full body workout using air exclusively. And you would have the flexibility to not just work on your strength, but also focus on power development and building your endurance. Air should also make your workouts way more efficient. There's no changing weights, there's no lading plates, you just grab and go. Now let's dive into the design. So there are two exit points on a platform where you'll attach either a bar or handles using a carabiner. And the distance between the two exit points for the cables are 23 inches. On the platform at the front is a tower, and the fan is attached to the back of the tower. And situated on top of the tower is a monitor. And the base dimensions are 35 inches by 26 inches or 45 by 26 inches, including the fan, which make it very small and compact. There is no magic bullet. So here are some of the drawbacks of the product. If you're benching or deadlifting or squatting above 250 pounds, then the total load that the unit can provide you may not be high enough. While this could be still extremely beneficial and suitable for endurance exercises, because endurance exercises are about a sustained power output over longer periods of time to develop peak maximal force, it might not be the right tool for you. Regarding the base itself, the distance between the cable exit points is 23 inches. So you won't be able to do exercises with a very wide stance. While this won't conflict with most of the exercises, for example, deadlifts, squats, overhead presses, lunges, curls, all use a stance well within that 23-inch distance. Some exercises, like a sumo deadlift, just aren't appropriate using the air. One final drawback is for our taller users. So if you're over 6'1", you won't be able to fully extend your arms overhead. So when doing shoulder presses, you'll just need to perform them from a seated or from a kneeling position. While these drawbacks exist, BaseBlocks Air addressed the pain points we set out to solve. We wanted a piece of equipment that could generate large amounts of resistance that weren't relying on physical load. So we have something that's relatively lightweight. We wanted exercise versatility. I can pretty much replicate any free weight exercise. I wanted workout versatility. I can build strength, power, and endurance. And it takes up less space than a yoga mat.